Welcome to USA Global TV and Radio, where our mission is to provide education, entertainment, hope, and inspiration. USA Global TV and Radio connects you with experts and audiences all around the world every single day to help you succeed in business and to live a richer life. Visit us at usaglobaltv.com to learn about career and life-changing training and mentoring programs like the Listening Mentor. Subscribe to our newsletter to stay informed about our special programs and offers. Discover how you can become a guest on one of our shows or a host or producer of a USA Global TV and Radio show of your very own. That's USA Global TV and Radio, where the doctor is always in.
Hello, everyone. Welcome home to USA Global TV and Radio in partnership with the British School of Excellence. I'm Dr. Jacalyn Kerbeck, and our show today is The Power of Etiquette and Manners. And our topic is Table Talk, Mastering Formal Dining Etiquette. Joining me is the star of our show. He is the founder and principal of the British School of Excellence. Let's welcome Mr. Philip Sykes. Hello.
Dr. Jacalyn, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever everyone is in the world. And it's Friday, as we always say, Friday. It's another week has shot past. How's your week been?
It's been really good. Lots of things happening, which is great. And we've got new people coming on the platform. We did a Mother's Day special, and people are going to be hosting their own shows, which is really lovely. So, and I get to see you. Is this twice or three times this week? I know it's twice.
Yes, definitely twice. Wasn't that a great show?
Oh, it was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. I just love the energy that the people you're bringing here, and they've done so many successful things. And the fact that people get knocked down and then they get back up again is such an inspiration to me. But would you like to summarize Live, Learn, Teach, Inspire for people who didn't get to see it this week?
Yeah, anyone out there, please just go to USA Global TV and Radio YouTube channel and look at and watch the show on Live, Learn, Teach, Inspire with a very close and dear friend of mine, David Fabricius, who really does give you some quintessential tools in so many wonderful areas. We really had the most incredible discussion on areas that will elevate you. We talked about higher purpose. We talked about goals. We talked about habits. We talked about having a system in our lives and really understanding how to break through and process scenarios during the course of your life. And David left us with some incredible wisdom lessons that he had generated from his life and how he has been able to utilize that to really go out there and change people's lives and encourage people to find themselves and go out there and use their unique talents and helping people find those incredible talents. And David, when he was 26, well, it was one, I think he had 3 or 4, if not 6 near-death experiences. But he recalls in this journey, in this scenario that we talked about on Wednesday, about how he was going over some waterfall in Zimbabwe or Zambia, and he literally saw his life flashing in front of him. And that was a very pivotal moment in his life. And he shares this, and he is one person amongst a good handful of people. I can honestly say that if anyone out there wants to be motivated, inspired, or taken on a journey and pushed to the limit, David Fabricius is definitely an individual out there who would be able to do that for you.
Fantastic. Thank you. So all you have to do is go over to our YouTube channel. We did just put up the information and look for Live, Learn, Teach, Inspire. You'll find it there. You'll also find us on Roku Worldwide, Amazon Fire, and very soon Zizzle TV. So let's get into our topic today, because I think this is really important. And people out there who maybe they're not going to formal events, they're thinking, I don't know, does this really apply to me in my own home? And it does, doesn't it?
Dr. Jacalyn, people often think, oh, the British School of Etiquette and Excellence, this is all about the knife and fork. I often say, no, it's not about the knife and fork, but it is about the knife and fork, because no matter what situation you find yourself in, and never underestimate situations that you will find yourself in. You never, ever know what is today going to bring for you, and ask yourself that every single day, and understand that, how can I handle that day, and what do I need to do to prepare for this particular day? And this really does bring me to giving people the understanding that dining etiquette, table manners, understanding how to navigate your way around any table wherever you are in the world is fundamental. And I'm not talking about, oh, you need a knife and fork or blah, blah, blah. Not at all. It's not really what you eat with, as in you could eat with your right hand, you could eat with chopsticks, you could eat with a spoon in your right hand, a fork, a knife and fork. You could eat with, I think I mentioned a fork and a spoon. It really doesn't matter the utensils or what you're delivering, how you're delivering the food to your mouth. It's how do we handle ourselves at that table, whether it be breakfast, lunch, or dinner. And there is an art to this, and there is a fundamental aspect to this, because you don't get a second chance when it comes to table manners and dining etiquette. That I can assure you. It's something there is nowhere to hide. And the power behind this is when you feel confident at any given table, you are going to be so present. In other words, you will be able to put your attention onto your fellow diners, onto your guests, and the people that you are surrounded with.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, Philip. I know we're going to actually drill down onto this topic, but I do have a general question, because I think that this may have changed over time. I was always told, if you are out somewhere with other people and you're dining and the food is served and it's hot and everyone hasn't been served, you eat the hot food, regardless of whether or not everyone has their food. And recently I read something else that's not the case. So I'm really confused. Which is it?
No, you wait till everyone's got their food, Dr. Jacalyn. So, I mean, if you're at a wedding with 10 tables of 10, you're not going to wait for the 10th table to be served and you were the first table. You, with your fellow diners, look, in an ideal world, hopefully the food is coming out fairly, one behind the other, or at least served within a few minutes, or not even minutes, or let's say a minute of the first person receiving their food. You wait until everyone's got their meal, and the host might say, please enjoy, or there might even be prayer at the table. You need to adapt according to the culture and the room that you're in, but you wait until everyone's got their food and you start at the same time. And on that note, try and keep pace of one another's, or sort of the diners, and try not to wolf your food down. Well, we don't wolf our food down. We actually rest between mouthfuls. There's a whole aspect to this.
Now, what if you are with diners and your food comes out first and it's hot and they say, no, please go ahead and eat it. I don't want it to get cold. You still say, no, that's okay. I'm waiting.
Just wait. Say, I'll wait till everyone's got their food. Thank you.
Fantastic. Now, to the last point that you made, I know people who really believe in dining. My father was one of those people. We're dining. This is an event. We're enjoying ourselves. And other people, even going out to dinner, it's like, whoa, that's 5 minutes and we finished eating all of our food. It's time to go. So how do you acclimate for people who have different tendencies in terms of how fast they eat?
Well, the idea behind dining etiquette is to be respectful and considerate to your fellow diners. Now, when it comes to, I'm going to go into eating with a knife and fork, for example, and or chopsticks, but let's use knife and fork as our implements to deliver the food to our mouths. You rest between mouthfuls. So you would cut a little bit of meat, maybe a little bit of, or if it's chicken or whatever, just whatever the main supplement or main dish is. It could be meat, fish, poultry, it could be whatever it might be, vegetarian. But I'm going to use meat, for example. You cut a little bit of the meat, a bit of broccoli, maybe a little bit of a baby potato. You'd place it on the back of the fork and you would lean in ever so slightly and pop the food in your mouth, and then you would rest your cutlery with your fork and the knife under your fork in sort of at 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock position on the plate, not off the plate. And that is what we call resting. And you rest between mouthfuls. So I'm chewing my food, I might have a sip of my wine or a glass of water, a sip of water. I might converse with the person next to me, and then continue with preparing the next forkful. And so it's really something to take into account and be mindful. The other interesting thing is that when you do take your time to eat your food, A, you're going to appreciate it a lot more. You're going to pick up the flavors a lot more. But B, it takes your stomach 15 to 20 minutes to let your brain know that it's full. And that's why people say, oh gosh, I'm stuffed after that. And they've eaten very quickly. And 15, 20 minutes later, they get that very heavy sinking feeling of a very full stomach. And by using the correct formalities when it comes to dining, A, we'll eat a lot less. And B, you'll be able to appreciate the food and the company that you are surrounded with.
Thank you for sharing that. That's really helpful. Now, Sue, your point about the silverware, I've seen this happen numerous times. People bring their own silverware because it's environmentally friendly. They're reusing it. It's made out of wood. They don't believe in plastic, and they bring out their cutlery. What do you think of this? Have you seen it?
No.
No.
I'm yet to discover that. That's quite an interesting scenario. Look, I understand the logic behind it. With all due respect, I do. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a big fan of plastic and that sort of thing in the environment. But if things are going through a recycling system, then the plastic knives and forks will hopefully be disposed of in a professional manner. But I've never seen people bring their own cutlery to a venue or restaurant.
Okay, I have. It's made out of wood. I've seen it, but okay, so let's move on. So when you get to the table, is there a proper protocol about how we sit down, where we're seated? Do we all stand behind our chairs and then come forward and then sit at the same time? How does that work?
There is, absolutely. Great question. Right. So if I've got a chair here in front of me, let's say it's a formal dinner, we'd all stand behind our chairs, and then the host would say, please take a seat. We would always enter the seating position on the left of the chair. In other words, your right. Because Dr. Jacalyn, if you were next to me and we both decided to enter from, you coming in from the left, from your left, me from my right, we're going to bang into one another. So we enter from the left of the chair, and we would place one foot behind the other. We don't put our arms down there and flop into our chair, and we would sit down gracefully. Ladies can put their hands behind the back of their hands and smooth their skirt down. Men can smooth their jacket down, and we would lower ourselves into our chair, and we would sit about a fist and a half away from the edge of the table. We do not flop into the backs of our chairs. And then exiting, you would exit from the right-hand side of the chair. In other words, your left. And we always push a chair back in once we leave a table.
Now we're seated, and do we have conversation by yelling across the table? Hey, Bob, I wish I was sitting next to you, but I'm not. And I was wondering, no.
We do. Look, if it's a narrow table, fine. But if it's a grand table where there's quite a distance between Bob and you don't really want to sort of bellow across the table. The rule of thumb and the norm would be to the right or to your left. You asked about seating plans. Seating plans, I believe, are very important for various reasons, because you often find people who are friends tend to want to be together, and that doesn't give anyone a chance to get to know you, or you to get to know new people. If we're hosting a formal dinner party, we would always structure a name and put name tags or name tents on the table, and we'd mix up boy, girl around the table. And what we often tend to find or suggest is that off the back of the first course is the hostess might go, make a little bit of an interrupt everyone and say, would the gentleman please be upstanding and take your napkin and your wine glass and move one space, or take place of the next gentleman, or take two spaces of the next gentleman, especially if it's a nice big party, let's say 16. That way the table gets to mix and mingle, and it really does make a big difference to the energy of the evening or the afternoon.
Now, what about the conversation itself? Obviously, there's certain topics that we need to stay away from. But what if we're next to someone we've never met before? This is a first time. Are there certain questions to ask and certain ones to avoid?
Definitely certain things we can ask, and definitely certain things we should absolutely avoid. Firstly, in many of our programs, we actually talk about the art of conversation. How do we connect with people? What's appropriate? What's not appropriate? And whether people like it or not, small talk is glue. We call it big talk. It is the foundation of building rapport and building a friendship. And you need to really understand how important this is and learn to master it. Learn to understand what is appropriate, what can I engage with, or what is not appropriate. So let's go down on what's not appropriate. Let's not get there and start talking about negativity. Let's not talk about politics, money, relationships, religion. Those are absolutely something that is a no-no. Family is another one, because I might ask you, so Dr. Jacalyn, how many kids do you have? And you maybe possibly never chose to have kids. You couldn't have, whatever the scenario is, that might be a very awkward question to ask. There are ways of finding out if people have a family by poignant questions. For example, have you had a holiday recently? Oh yes, the family and I went to X, Y, and Z. Fantastic. So what's the makeup of your family? And then you can start to go into the makeup of the family. So just be things that are sensitive, be mindful of that. Things that could offend, be mindful of that. Now, going down the route of what's appropriate and what's going to trigger some good conversation, you've already heard me suggest one of the items. Have you had a holiday recently? Or how do you know the host, for example, if you've never met this person on the right-hand side? That's a great way to pick up a conversation, because there's got to be a story. Or maybe they've never met the host. Maybe their partner knows the host. Well, my partner knows the host from X, Y, and Z. So it's immediately going to trigger a conversation. From there, we can start delving into other areas that are comfortable. That could be, what do you do outside work? Are you a theatre fan? Talk about the classics, such as going to the theatres, going to the ballet. Talk about sport. Sport is such a great area for a lot of people. People connect on sport. They connect on hobbies. They connect on, things that they really enjoy doing. And then one of the things in the journey of the conversation, when you find the correct point in time, is ask someone what they're passionate about. Because the moment you ask someone what they're passionate about, you will see them their whole body language shifts. Boom, and then all of a sudden they become alive. It is phenomenal to watch someone. When you ask them what they're passionate about, you'll see this little trigger. And from there on, you can really connect on their passion and what they love sharing and talking about. And if it's not something you're passionate about, then show great interest in it. Where did it start? How would you get into this industry? Or how would you get into something that you've just shared with me? And show that you really care. Make it about the other person. Don't steamroll them with your experiences and your passion. Find out, make it all about what can I learn from this individual and how can I get to know this person.
I love what you just shared. And I have a follow-up question, which is you and I are both advocates of the power of elevated listening. How long do we answer? So I've asked you a question and you're responding. How long do you respond before you ask me a question?
It's almost like watching a game of tennis, I suppose. You respond, and then I might say to you, have you had any experience in that particular arena, or have you been to that part of the world? Just be mindful of the conversation. And by the way, let's not make this 20 questions. So, Dr. Jacalyn, if I said to you, have you been on holiday lately? And you said, yeah, I've just been up to New York and had an amazing long weekend last weekend. And where did you stay? I stayed up in Manhattan. Oh, fantastic. Which part of Manhattan? So immediately I'm sharing and showing with you that I'm actually genuinely listening. I'm not just saying, where did you stay in New York? Well, I stayed in Manhattan. Where did you stay? Which part of Manhattan were you based in? Did you find anything to do while you were in Manhattan? And make it about using your very key words like what, when, where, how, who, and keeping the why very sort of closeted, because why can be quite attacking in certain scenarios. But so just, keep it like a moving sort of interaction between two people. That's the art of good conversation.
And it's truly a gift when you're involved in a conversation like that, because you really do feel special and you feel heard and you learn something as well with that being curious.
100%.
Now, what about when two people first meet? I've seen this happen. You go to a venue. I can't believe they booked this place for this dinner. I have heard horrible things about this place. The food's terrible. Now the person's never been there and you are putting all this negativity out there.
Don't invite that person.
But they're already there. So how do you deal with that?
Tell them to go home. No, look, again, I would bring some positivity into that. Well, we might be pleasantly surprised. Let's try it. Let's see how we get on, because this is something that I really want to bring into play. And it's something we really delved into on Wednesdays about your attitude is everything, and what you share and what you verbalize can really have a very profound effect on the moment, on the evening, on the scenario. And if we arrive with that sort of attitude, I think you're just doing yourself no favors whatsoever, and you passing things on that actually zero about. You might have heard something, but why even bring it up? It's almost like gossiping. It's not important and it's not necessary. Stop doing it.
Absolutely. And by the way, if somebody heard something about the venue and it wasn't positive, they don't have to come. They can make the decision. You know what? I'm not going to.
Don't say anything.
Don't say anything. Exactly.
Don't say anything. Just say, I'm excited to be here. I've had quite a few people come here. I'm really interested to see how the evening's going to unfold. It should be lots of fun. Boom. Then you're already starting on the right foot.
Good attitude means everything.
100%.
Now, I've seen this even from people who are very knowledgeable about etiquette and manners. They are talking while they're chewing their food. No.
Firstly, you don't want to see a cement mixer in someone's mouth. Then this food moving around, that's for sure. I think personally, eating, it can be done elegantly. It's not exactly, in my opinion, overly attractive to see people biting into certain foods. But by doing it with grace and finesse and flair, you can really, it just goes unnoticed. So eating with your mouth open and talking with food in your mouth are two no-nos. And the second big part of this, one of the main other reasons why you definitely don't want to talk and chew with your mouth open and talk with your mouth full, is because there's a strong chance of you choking. There really and truly is. I can share some horror stories of people choking, and some people even choking to death. So chewing with your mouth open and talking with your mouth full are two absolute no-nos.
And to add on to that, when you're talking and you're chewing, you can be inhaling more oxygen, I think, which then you can start choking, you can start belching. It's not a pretty sight, or it's not. It's
Jacalyn, no word of a lie, not to bring doom and gloom to this wonderful show, but 2 weeks ago, we lost a friend at the age of 52 years old. He was sitting with his family, and he choked. Now, I don't know if he was chewing with his mouth open and talking at the same time, but he choked in front of them. And it is a very serious scenario. So for anyone out there who ever experiences a choking, just get that person to stand up, and with the force of this part of your arm, you just come up to them on their backs and hit them as hard as you can in the upper back here. And that would hopefully dislodge the food in that person's throat. But it seriously is a very, very desperate situation to be in.
I'm sorry to hear about your friend. That's horrible. And I know that in restaurants, there are many times where somebody has to save somebody else's life because they are choking.
Yeah, well, it happened to my father. The maitre d' fortunately put his hand down my father's throat and pulled a piece of meat out, and he landed up in ICU for 2 days. So, and don't leave the table. That's what my father did. He left the table because he didn't want to embarrass himself. He got into the loo, in other words, the toilet for those of you, or the washroom, and he realized now he was starting to feel very lightheaded, and he decided that he better exit it. And as he literally opened the loo door, he collapsed. And yeah, it was just very fortunate that the maitre d' managed to pull that piece of meat out of his throat.
You're right. That's such a good point, because if you go off on your own, then people don't know where you are. You can't get any assistance. And something that comes to mind, and by the way, I'm sorry that your dad went through that, because that is horrific. I have had an airborne shellfish allergy for a long time. I don't know if I have it anymore because I haven't been around shellfish. But my question for you when it comes to etiquette and manners, if you have food allergies, because this is a tough one, a lot of people do have food allergies. And I would say, before we even went to the restaurant, when someone was selecting it, I would say, thank you for including me. I want to let you know I have a very serious allergy that I could die from. I'm allergic to airborne shellfish. So if anyone is at the table ordering it, I'm going to have to leave. Or if we're sitting by the kitchen, I'm going to have to leave. And so we went to dinner. There was probably 10 of us we were at work, and the guy next to me orders a plate of mussels. And lo and behold, like, I had my back turned. I'd already asked them specifically. And I had my back turned when they were delivered, and immediately. And so I had to leave the table, and I was outside. I ended up in an ambulance. But what is the proper protocol if you have allergies and people still want you to attend? No, we want you to be with us. We won't order anything. And then they do.
Look, it's got to be made very clear. Again, I can share horror stories from, aircraft incidences where someone's got a nut allergy, or there was a trace of nuts in a sandwich, which was a big case here in the UK about 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 years ago. And their daughter died because it wasn't pointed out on the ingredients of the sandwich. So yeah, people need to take this very, very seriously. It's something that you cannot mess around with. You either make it very clear to everyone at that dinner, or even the restaurant, that under no circumstances can we order anything to do with shellfish. It needs to be made very clear to every single guest.
Thank you, Philip. One thing that I've done just to close out this particular subject is I've actually spoken to the wait staff, and I've said, by the way, I have a very serious shellfish allergy. If anyone orders shellfish, can you please mention this to them to remind them, because I've already shared it with them. And in one case, the server came over and said, by the way, I did let the gentleman know, but he decided to order it anyway. So that was a separate incident. So anyway, I ended up having to leave, which is, I think, why I don't go out to dinner very much anymore. But I want to turn to something else, which is really important: the napkin. I've seen people get up to go to the restroom and they put the napkin on top of their food. And then they come back and there's food on the napkin, especially if it's a high quality napkin. Yeah. What are your thoughts?
Even if it's a paper napkin and it's not a serviette, it's a napkin, you never, under any circumstances, whether you finish your plate of food or not, the napkin does never, that's not good English, the napkin must never ever go on your plate. No, and we never push a dirty plate away from us either. A napkin, some people will say, if you get up to go to the loo, the restroom, you place your napkin on your chair. I'm not against that, but I'm not for it either. I always suggest people place their napkin above their bread plate to the top left-hand side, or over the arm of their chair. One of the reasons why I'm not so keen on the napkin going on the chair, you might have some gravy or lipstick for women, and it goes and sort of it tarnishes or messes the chair up. Not only that, how many people have sat in those chairs? So from a hygiene point of view, napkins, when we've finished, our plates are cleared. So in other words, the napkin must remain on our lap throughout the meal. Even if Dr. Jack, you and I have finished everything, we've got a glass of wine or a glass of water and a cup of coffee, the napkin remains on our lap. We then decide we've finished, we get up, we push our chairs in, but before we do that, we just fold our napkin and place it either in front of us or to the left. It doesn't matter. Stand up, push our chair in, and then depart.
I hope everyone's listening to that, because it's so important. What about, and I am guilty of this, so I'm just going to say if it's wrong, that I've been doing the wrong thing. I'm typically wearing dark clothes, and I will ask for a black napkin. And in some places you get it, in some places you don't. But with the white, you can visibly see the lint going onto your garment. So bring your own napkin? No.
Look, I find that fascinating. A good quality napkin would never transfer. I know exactly what you're talking about, but I am very aware of that, and it's not something I'm really going to sort of answer in a direct way. I like the fact that some restaurants do have a black table napkin. I've personally always really, I say only, a lot of the time it's either cream or a white or champagne colored napkin, but it's about the quality. It should be cotton, not that horrible synthetic, plasticky cotton type imitation. It doesn't absorb anything really. So, either get a proper napkin or don't bother. Use it, then rather use a good quality, thick. You get those amazing, great quality paper napkins.
Thank you, Philip. Now, in terms of using the napkin, okay, you see I'm wearing red lipstick, which I love. And of course, you're going to soil the really high quality napkins. So what is appropriate? I know that more and more companies are coming out with lipsticks that are almost impossible to take off. I don't know how healthy that is, but what about preserving the napkin?
Look, the napkin, I mean, most organizations hopefully have a very good dry cleaning service, and therefore will be able to get rid of the lipstick that is being transferred onto the napkin. What I always suggest is, and again, I always suggest having the napkin with the open part facing you. You can lift up the napkin, split it, dab your mouth, and then close it up. I do know a couple of one of our students that did train the trainer very, very elegantly shared with us that she often puts a tissue in between the napkin and just picks it up and then dabs her lipstick and her mouth with the tissue paper inside the napkin.
That's a great idea. I want to turn to this also because things are coming back to me. I remember back in the day, and I don't know if it still exists today, but I would have a handbag. I don't want to say it's a hanger. I don't know what you would call it.
Your little
But
handbag hook.
yes, hook.
Yes.
Is that still relevant today?
I think it's a great idea. Look, you've also got to bring into account little idiosyncrasies and what's the word I'm looking for? Superstitions, Dr. Jacalyn. You know, the Brazilians, the South Americans in general, if you put, they will never put the handbag on the floor. They believe, put your handbag on the floor, your money's going to run away. So when you go to restaurants in South American style restaurants globally, or obviously in South America, Mexico, Brazil, any of those lovely countries, they will often bring a stool or another chair for your handbags, or you will see people using that very neat little handbag hook. I'm also going to suggest that if you are in a safe environment, you don't ever, as I mentioned, sit in the back of your chair like you're on someone's yacht cruising around the Caribbean or the Med. You would always have a little space. So your bottom would be about 3/4 on the chair. I'm more talking very formal environments. There's no harm in you sitting upright in the back of your chair to rest between mouthful or rest between courses. But if there is a little gap between you and you've got a little clutch handbag, you can place it between your back and the back of the chair. That's another nice place to be able to rest your handbag.
Absolutely. I remember the first time I went to Europe, I was pleasantly surprised to see a little stool for my handbag. And I thought, what a great idea. You will never catch me putting my handbag on the floor because to me, if you have a good quality bag and you're putting it on the floor, then you bring it in your home and you put it on the counter. Now you took the germs from the floor and I can't even go there.
But people do that all the time. It's like wearing shoes in someone's house.
I know.
It is, we've got a house that's predominantly underfloor heated, but with tiles. And so, yeah, but you're still coming in off the streets of London or wherever you might be coming on, and you bring dirty shoes into your home. I don't understand that, really. It doesn't make sense. And I know many, many cultures, in other words, countries where this is a strict no-no. They actually have, slippers for their guests and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I'm in socks right now because I don't wear shoes in the house either. So and I'm by myself. So let's turn to if this is you going out to dinner and you're with your friends, but it's a nice restaurant, it's an upscale restaurant, and you're really hungry and you decide to order 5 different courses and some other people are ordering 2 courses. Is that appropriate? Do you have a conversation? Hey, I'm really hungry. I'm ordering it all. I'm getting the salad, the apple. I'm getting it all.
I think it's inappropriate. I would generally get the general consensus of what everyone's having. You might be hungry, but everyone says, look, we're going to just jump straight into main course. Is everyone happy with that? And you might not be. Go with the crowd, go with the flow, because it's about consideration to others. It's not, if it's you and your wife or you and your husband or whoever it is, you and your partner going out for a meal, that's a whole different ballgame. But if you're going to a restaurant with a group of people, what you might be able to do is make a suggestion. Should we order a couple of starters for the table and we can share them? That's totally appropriate and works exceptionally well. And that's even in a fine dining restaurant, one can do that. So, nice upmarket brasserie, you can do that. But just be considerate of others. It really doesn't do anyone any favors if you are hungry and you're ordering 4 or 5 courses.
Thank you, Philip. And of course, the big topic that we've discussed before, but always comes up. I actually was watching a rerun last night of Seinfeld. Did you ever see Seinfeld?
Absolutely.
And it's one where Jerry goes to visit his parents in Florida. And anyway, he gives them this little, I think it's called a wizard, so that you can figure out the tip for the bill. And so my question is, in that example, I ordered 5 things. You ordered 2 things. the check comes, do we all take out our debit card, our credit card, and throw it in the middle and say, hey, just split it up? Do we take out the calculator, our phone, we start adding, well, you had something was $5.20, that was 37. How do we handle that?
That is a very good question, and it's an interesting question as well as a challenging question. And the reason why I say that is because there's certain people who get to a certain stage in their lives where they could afford pretty much most things in life, give or take. I'm not talking about buying a couple of £100,000 yacht, but they could literally, go and buy a nice car. They live in that sort of situation. If you all sort of mates and you understand one another, and it was just what they call go Dutch, then if you've had only $10 and they've had 20, I honestly wouldn't split hairs. I'd say, look, let's just divide it, because I'm a big believer in what comes around goes around. I really and truly am. Now, we had something the other evening, which is quite interesting, and this is a really good example. And my brother PJ was over from South Africa, and we had a get together at a lovely restaurant in a place in Wimbledon. And if anyone's watching and listening from Wimbledon, it's Roxy's. It's a great restaurant. I really highly champion it. And there were four of us, and then a friend of ours joined us a little bit later. And the four of us had ordered a couple of shared starters, and then we went into a main course, and we had ordered a bottle of wine, and some of the chaps had some beers. And then this friend of ours joined us, and he decided to have a small plate of something, and I think he had 2 beers. The bill came, and he threw in quite a large sum of money, and I said, absolutely not. And so I handed back a paper note, and he contributed, and rightly so, as he wanted to. And I felt that was appropriate. He didn't need to over contribute in that particular situation. So I think it's horses for courses. I truly also believe that if you've been the key person making the invitation, and you say, this is my treat, then follow through with that. Sometimes you might want to spoil the table, and you sneak away and you tell the maitre d', here's my credit card, and please put 15% gratuity on there, or whatever it might be, and just do it subtly. I don't want a boxing match at the table. It's horses for courses, Dr. Jacalyn. And I think when you're students and you're coming up in the world, then maybe that sort of scenario says, well, look, I don't drink alcohol, and you guys have absolutely gone, excuse the term, but balls to the wall type thing. And I've literally had a glass of water and a sandwich, and my contribution is 15, and I'll put in an extra 5 for good measure, so I'll pay my $20. But the rest of you, if you're spending $50 a head, then I think that's appropriate. It just depends on the situation.
Okay, I've got a follow up, because I've been told this by a few people here in the States. The oldest person at the table picks up the check.
That's unfair. That's unfair. I think we should be helping the older people. They must really been so generous throughout their lives. Look, it depends. I mean, when my father was alive, he would insist on paying them, and that's where we would sneak away every now and then and try and get one up on him by paying the bill behind his back. But again, look, if it's an elder person and they're exceptionally well off, then let that be the case. But I don't feel the onus should be put onto the older person at all.
I agree, because then I think people start taking advantage, and you think, oh, every time you go out with so-and-so, they're going to pay. And that's not right. My mother was, I would say assertive is the word. When the bill would come, she'd say, I'm paying the bill. I have it. So even if we were with another couple and there was a man there and the guy would bring out his credit card, my mom would, it was like a fist fight almost at the table. It's embarrassing. So what if the woman insists, this isn't a date, right? This is going out to dinner. The woman insists, and then the man from the other couple wants to split the bill.
My mum's the same, Dr. Jacalyn. It's, and I just say, if I'm involved, I'll just say, Michael, John, seriously, my mum's going to win this one, so don't even go there. Just leave it. And there are times that one can get away with these sort of things, but as I said, it's very much about the situation, and it's about the company. It's about getting together. I mean, there's so many scenarios. Many years ago, before Kerry and I got married, I've got a very, very old, long-standing friend who's quite a few years older than I am, very wealthy gentleman, and he would inevitably, and we went to some beautiful places around the world over the years, and he always inevitably ended up paying. but every now and then I'd sneak one in on him, and he was obviously hugely grateful for that. But as you say, you can never just say, oh, that person's wealthy, they can afford it. It's often a lot of the wealthy people who don't want to pay for everyone, which is quite an extraordinary thing. And then going back to sort of scenarios where I met with some, Kerry and I met with a very good couple, friends of ours, where we went to a very nice restaurant. And as I sat down, my friend said, listen, just before we even get this evening off the ground, we're going 50-50 on that one. Is that okay? And that was very nice and clear from the word go.
I think that's important. It's about setting expectations. And I know we're coming to the end of our show. I do have a couple more questions. Do you have time?
Let's go.
Okay. So my next question is, and I think I've shared this before, my father would take us all out to dinner and we'd go to the Four Seasons, someplace really nice. And when the server would come over, he would say from the very beginning, we're here dining tonight. This is an event. We're going to be here for probably 3 or 4 hours. I'm just letting you know. And I would find that to be offensive because, if you've ever worked in the industry, you want to turn the tables and maybe you can get another, table in there, but you'd have to tip accordingly. And I'm not really sure if that tip would equal what you might get from having another party there. I'm not sure. So is that inappropriate to decide that you're going to stay there for the rest of the night?
Again, it's a great question because it depends on the style of restaurant. Is it a quick turnaround restaurant or is it a restaurant where you go to have the full-on experience? And I think your dad's very much in his right to say that because it is time together. And again, if that waiter then realizes that this is going to be, a really wonderful get together, then I would step up as a waiter and I'd go continue to go above and beyond and just wait on you with hand, mouth, and foot, and just make sure you had the best service, the best evening, and bring some energy to the table, and put everyone at ease. And that was something that I used to coach and train my staff on when I had my award-winning restaurant. And I tell you what, they walked away with so much money at the end of most nights because they just had an amazing way to put people at ease and give them the benefit of enjoying such a wonderful get together. And our restaurant, I would have loved to have turned those tables twice, but I took it on board to realize it's a dining restaurant where people come for a long period of time. They embrace the experience, they embrace the service, they embrace one another's company.
And I think also, and you would know better than me because you were in the business, but you build up relationships with people and then they're coming back specifically asking for you to. Now, what about the maitre d'? If I was there dining with other people and I said, and you were the maitre d', and I said, Philip, I'd love for you to sit and have a glass of wine with us.
Love that. I think it's just it's so human. It is so special. It is just, this is exactly what we used to do when I was back in the industry. I would often go past the table and put a bottle of port on the table, a couple of glasses, say, this is on the house. And they finished the evening. I tell you, that's why we had the repeat business. That's why we had a rapport with people. We made people feel so like they were coming home, but yet they could feel that they didn't need to rush out the door. Look, at 1 o'clock in the morning, you're starting to tell them, listen, disappear. But that didn't happen too often. But, people also need to be respectful of the restaurant, that, leaving around 11:30 is more than appropriate. You don't outstay your welcome. Or I've spent X amount of dollars here, I can stay here all night. I don't think that's the right attitude either. But the one thing is that if you feel that you're bringing people into your restaurant, this is what hospitality intelligence is about. And this is just not pertaining to restaurants and hotels. Every business should adopt hospitality intelligence into their business.
That is a term I have not heard before, hospitality intelligence. I love that. We'll have to have a special episode about that. One follow-up question I have for you. Back in the day, I'm using air quotes, when my dad was alive and my uncles, and we would go out as a big group, and there could be maybe 20, 25 of us, and it's going to be such a fun time. It was always great. But that number of people, and you include some alcohol, and it's a loud table. We're loud. So then you would get people who were upset. And I always wonder, why do they put some a small table, 2, 3, 4 people in a room where there's a huge group. And then of course their dinner is not as enjoyable. What is proper etiquette if people are together, they want to enjoy themselves, they are going to be loud? Do you say that as soon as you get there when you're making the reservation, put us in a private area?
That's what you need to do. Honestly, a big party's. So again, I want to go back, and we have the luxury of individual rooms, where we had an area called the library that could sit up to 20 people. But again, if you're going to choose a venue as a big party, be mindful of being able to be sort of shut away from the rest of the restaurant. It's appropriate on both sides. So the restaurateur or the hotel that has the restaurant needs to be mindful that, look, and actually, this happened when I was in Qatar a few months ago. We were sitting, 3 of us were sitting at a table, and this large party arrived with a couple of small children, and the screaming and the yelling, it was inappropriate. Now, again, nothing was done about that. We actually had to ask the maitre d' to go and say something, and we ended up moving tables, which it wasn't ideal. So again, mindfulness is very important in this journey, being considerate.
Thank you, Philip. And one more question, because I just can't resist. I've seen this in upscale restaurants, just as, regular restaurants where you wouldn't think there's as much protocol. The children are young, they're youngsters, and they're dressed up. They look adorable, and they have their devices. They've got, I don't know, iPads. I don't know what they're watching. They've got all kinds of things, and they start slamming them on the table or throwing them on the floor. And the parents are completely oblivious to this. So the kids, I think, are trying to get their attention. I'm not really sure, but it disrupts other people's dinner. So I've actually seen people go over and pick up the thing and say something to the parent. Why aren't you mindful of your children? I'm thinking, oh my gosh, this is not a good.
Yeah, personally, it's the parents at the end of the day. It's we as parents need to handle the scenario, and we need to be respectful. We should never think that a digital device is a babysitting tool, firstly. Secondly, if you're going to take your children to a specific environment, restaurant, make sure that they are behaved, that they are, and I'm not old school, children must be seen and not heard. Not at all. I'm all about taking and giving children an experience in different scenarios, but it's down to the parents. And if you parents want to get together and have a whole hana with your mates, is it appropriate to bring the children? Or does the restaurant have a facility where the children can go and hang out? This is something that we could have such an amazing, and we ought to do a whole series on, digital devices, parenting, that sort of thing, because at the end of the day, the world has changed so quickly and so fast, and it's not the children's fault, it's the parents.
Exactly. That's a great point. Thank you. We have your website pulled up, and I know there's a lot of exciting things going on. So let's take a look and tell our audience, if people joining us for the first time, we're at the British School of Excellence.com. Tell us about some of the things that are going on. The first thing I see is country partnerships available. What does that mean?
So basically, it's I don't like the word franchise, but it is. It's an opportunity to take our brand into your country or into a part of your country and be able to deliver the material, the content that we offer, and fall under the banner, the branding, the accreditations that we hold. It's a whole process, but it is a great opportunity. So we have country partners in various parts of the world currently, in Bahamas, Bermuda, Brazil, Qatar, Poland. We have 2 operations in Pakistan, and we are looking at 1 or 2 other countries right now as we speak. So very, very exciting opportunity for anyone out there. I mean, Dr. Jacalyn, you may recall Orchids Roy, who came on the program from Malaysia. She is doing the most incredible job out in Dubai at the moment. She's not a country partner, but she has partnered with a great organization. She's doing brilliant things. We then have, I can go on about some of the alumni, what they're doing out there. We've got Ala in America, who's got her Lux business, and Carol Sterling, who's got Sterling Etiquette, and so forth. So you can do our train the trainer program and go and set up your own organization. We will support you in doing that as well. We have the Polished Professional, which is 8 2-hour modules, which is just phenomenal. We've got, at the moment, we've got a really incredible group of 4 dynamic individuals, 4 men actually, who are going through the process of the polished professional. And then we go into areas of children, teenagers, young adults, and we offer a plethora of training and coaching in the retail sector, in the commercial sector as well. So as an organization, under the banner of the British School of Etiquette, the British School of Excellence, we really do focus on developing and building confidence and helping people understand the importance of human-to-human interaction. And how do we make one another feel? How do we connect with one another?
Thank you, Philip. And just to close out this part, because I think it's really important, you have had some incredible alumni. Every single person who walks through those doors, we talk about it all the time. They are just at the top of their game. Who is it that would find value in taking your courses and in becoming an alumni of the British School of Excellence?
Anyone out there who feels they're stuck, they don't know what their next move is, but they love engaging with people and they love to see people develop and grow. You don't need to have any certifications or qualifications to bring your life experience. We have people, when I say from all walks of life, from politicians to doctors to mums who raised a beautiful family to lawyers. I mean, honestly, if you come up with an occupation, people from the airline industry, it's just phenomenal, the type and style of people that walk through the door. And it is just so refreshing to see how many people there are out there that want to make a difference, that want to make a change, that have discovered that this human connection between us is falling apart, and they want to go out there and they want to make a big difference. And that's what we encourage people to do and look at. And we will support you on the journey, that when the door of the organization opens, it definitely remains open.
Thank you, Philip. I can't tell you how many times I think I would like to take a week and take the course myself, because the Train the Trainer program, it's just so exciting. And people can sign up. You've got one coming up. Is it already sold out?
We're close on selling out, but it's going to be phenomenal. We've got 5 intense days here in London, and it's going to be very busy days, at least 7-8 hour days, Monday to Friday. It starts on the 10th of June and goes through to Friday, the 14th of June. And we've got a sneaky little surprise for the attendees on the Saturday. I've just made that, I suppose. Maybe Leanne's going to wrap me on the knuckles. I think it was meant to be a surprise. But at the end of the day, it's going to be filled with the most wonderful content, the most incredible people. We've got some past guests, Train the Trainer students coming to say hello. And it's just, we'll make it what we can and give you as much as we can in those 5 days.
Philip, what's the best way for people to reach out? How do they sign up?
Go on to our website. There are easy buttons. There's a lot of book now or inquire now buttons. Go to hello@thebritishschoolofexcellence.com, and please reach out to us on our WhatsApp numbers, which are displayed on our YouTube, on our website. We've got great social media content. You'll find a lot of material out there on our YouTube channel where we're delivering content and material. There's the Train the Trainer Taster program on there. If you want to go, it's a complimentary. You just need to sign up and see what we can deliver and what we can offer. There's the Polished Professional Taster session, and there's also a taster session in the high performance coaching scenario.
Absolutely love it, Philip. And I love your website, by the way. It's so easy to navigate. So it is the BritishSchoolOfExcellence.com. Please go over there and sign up for these courses. You will be so happy you did, and we'll have you on the show. How about that? You'll come here and tell us about your experience.
Please.
All right, Philip, we are closing out yet another Friday. What would you like to leave our audience with for this episode?
Just understand the importance of how we react and behave and how we connect with one another, and be mindful, be kind, be respectful, and let us slow down in this world. Let us start to really understand how important that H2H is, that human-to-human connection is. Because with all the technology in this world, if you or we or me, we don't have the human skills, the people skills, at some stage you will fall down and you will ask yourself why. And it'll be because it's the way you maybe showed up towards someone else, the way you reacted or behaved. And I really do believe that all of us have the ability and the option to make changes in our lives and work on ourselves, to better ourselves, to be even better than we really are.
Completely agree with you. And I think also when we do make those mistakes or we trip up and we get too emotional, apologize. Apologize right away because we are human and people do appreciate that when you realize and recognize that you made a mistake.
100%. 100%.
Well, my dear friends, thank you for twice in the same week. Absolutely fantastic. And let's try to catch up this weekend if we can. I know we said last week, but let's try this weekend.
Have a wonderful rest of the day, Dr. Jacalyn. And as always, what a great show.
Thank you so much. Happy Friday night there.
You too. Bye-bye, Dr. Jacalyn. Bye-bye.
Please do reach out to Philip. We will put up his contact information again. I've known him, I think, for 3 years now, and I would say my life has changed dramatically for the better. So go over to the BritishSchoolOfExcellence.com or email him at hello@thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. I want to close out with just this message. We just ran a Mother's Day promotion, which was really for people out there who would like to have their own show, see what it's like to broadcast one episode live, and it's a 30-minute episode. So that promotion is over, but if you're out there and you're thinking to yourself, I do have a message that I want to share. I've always wanted to be a television show host. There is a big difference between being a TV show host and being a podcaster. First of all, podcasts, you can do it anytime. I could say, hey, Philip, do you want to do an interview in 5 minutes? And it could be audio only. With the television show, we have an actual production calendar. So everything is scheduled in advance. Everything's live. There's no editing, whereas with podcasting, you can certainly edit. So if you would like to have your own show and you don't know how to go about it, you can definitely reach out to me. And I'll put up my contact information here. It's Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com. Here it is. And I'm happy to coach you as well. I've done over 5,000 shows myself, so am considered an expert when it comes to broadcasting and production, and I'm happy to teach you what it is that I know. So we're a community here, and we'd love to have you. A special pricing arrangement also, and there's no contract to do one show, and I can host it with you, or you can do it by yourself. So go over again to Dr. Jacalyn at usaglobaltv.com. We're going to close out for now. We'll be back in a little while with our next show, so please do stay tuned. And let's watch a sponsorship from the British School of Excellence. I think you'll be very impressed with what you're going to hear from people who've taken the course. Take a look. This program is brought to you in part by the British School of Excellence and founder, Mr. Philip SYKES. Building confidence, changing lives. Do you share our view that etiquette is a set of modern life skills that are essential for personal and professional success? Join us as an etiquette coach and change people's lives through the power of etiquette and manners.
2. Mastering professional presence and confidence. This masterclass is a deep dive into the art of self-assurance and commanding presence, which is essential for standing out in today's competitive landscape. Module 3, learn the secrets of visual impact, how to curate a personal style that amplifies your professional brand. Module 4, mastering professional etiquette and communication excellence, navigating the nuances of corporate interaction with grace and tact. Module 5, elegance in eloquence. We impart powerful techniques to captivate and persuade any audience with your oratory skills. Module 6, unlock the potential of your emotional intelligence, EQ, and harness the ability to connect, empathize, and lead with emotional savvy. Module 7, mastering DISC, building a gateway to understanding behavioral styles, fostering better personal and professional relationships. Module 8, mastery in dining etiquette, building your confidence to perfect the subtleties of dining with finesse, enhancing your social savviness at any table. Step into the Polished Professional program where poise, elegance, and excellence aren't just taught, they're instilled for life. Join us to redefine your potential and polish your professional edge.
To learn more, go to thebritishschoolofexcellence.com. The British School of Excellence are investors in people. Let us invest in you.